Hey YouTube, Tyrant60 here. It's been a while since I've posted. Um, yeah, I don't know. I used to like post YouTube videos all the time. It's very therapeutic for me, and I don't really rely on that anymore. And maybe I just got tired of the negativity of the internet. But uh, now is a good time because something is like a straw on the camel's back. Something finally got me to just break and do another live YouTube thing to talk and vent to you out there. Recently, there's a proposition in the California State Legislature for a tax on texts in order to pay for cell phones for poor people. And luckily it was struck down by the California Supreme Court. Thank goodness. There's some hope in this state. But it's exhausting just hearing that few sentences. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because it just reminds me of, and I think it just relates to the seed of that is rooting all this chaos that is currently happening. And it's the same seed that rooted the chaos we saw in the 20th century, and the same seed that rooted a lot of the chaos we saw in the 19th century, which is the belief that if one person has less than another person, or if one person doesn't have everything the other person has, or if one person feels oppressed by this other person, it's because the other person has taken advantage of the oppressed feeling person, or the person who doesn't have as much as the other person, or the person who doesn't have that cell phone. It must be because all these rich people who maybe are better with their money or have had more fortunate life circumstances are oppressing the people who don't have cell phones. It couldn't ever be. Maybe it's just they're bad with their money, or they have just more difficult life circumstance, or maybe they don't choose to have a cell phone. And taking advantage of that poorly put together idea, the government comes and says, oh, let's tax people with cell phones and use that money for buying poor people's cell phones. And maybe some other stuff too, which happens all the time in government. Let's use this idea of this person is oppressed. Let's use this conception that people on the left generally tend to articulate or tend to create in their minds, and to our advantage, so we can make money off of one other thing. This idea of compassion. Let's tax some sort of arbitrary thing, another arbitrary thing. And to me, just speaking a bit about the chaos right now, like, Christmas time is supposed to be a time where we honor our relationships and reflect on Jesus Christ in our life, and kind of examine who Jesus Christ was. At least as a Christian, I feel like that's what it's supposed to be. But it progressively seems to becoming more and more consumerism and chaos, and all these people, instead of becoming just happier and closer to each other and like Merry Christmas, become further and further apart, because there's just this kind of capitalist, like, I almost went on a tirade on something completely different. But it's supposed to be a happy time. It turns into a chaotic time because all these people become consumed by just buy gifts, and they don't really think about the common man. But just being in all this chaos really makes me think about what real chaos is, and how close we are to descending into real chaos when it comes to government decisions like this. portrayal of taxing cell phone usage. Um, and as I mentioned earlier, it's similar to the seed that sprouted in the 19th century and the 20th century. More specifically, in the 19th century, there was the language of the bourgeoisie versus the proletariats, and that led to the decapitation of thousands and thousands of people, not only politicians, but anyone who spoke out against certain ideas. And in the 20th century, I think more I can't speak. More related to the taste you feel when we're talking about this is like what happened with the Soviet Union, and not only the Soviet Union, but preceding that in the early 20th century with the when the gulags started happening, is it like what you heard from Zecharia Sitchin, the Gulag Archipelago. There was this language of these people, like engineers or doctors, have taken advantage of these people who are farmers, and they have been benefiting from the hard labor done by the farmers. So these people who have benefited from them should be punished from not doing the same labor these farmers did. And that's the same language of these people are being taken advantage of from these people. But of course, that very quickly devolved into, hey, these people too are also benefiting from other labor done by other people in this group, farmer benefiting from other farmers. Therefore, let's just take everything from everyone and redistribute it to in fact, it got so bad that if you were to pick up food that was dropped off of a food truck, if you were hungry and dying as even a child from hunger, if you were to pick up food dropped off of that truck, you would be going to prison for 10 years. And not just prison like what you have in the United States, which is 3 meals a day in a cell with a television. No, hard labor prison where you go to die prison. And that was just a lot of people who fell victim to the idea that anyone who has more than you is an oppressor. And once you start wiping out an economy, and once everyone stops having the necessities to live, everyone around you becomes an enemy. And when the person who is in charge of some sort of government will say, I'm here to save you from the people oppressing you, then you're like, okay, what do we need to do? Well, tell me who isn't following my rules. Oh, well, this kid who was very hungry and dying of hunger, this kid stole some money that fell on the street, or stole some food that fell on the street. Oh, thank you for telling on him. Here is weeks of food for your family because you ratted him out. And these ideas of oppressor versus oppressed, exactly what you're hearing from the California legislature of tax cell phone usage because of some people don't have cell phones, is, in my opinion, the root of all evil when it comes to government. And that's why I really fear for my safety and my family's safety. And when I hear about stuff like that being proposed by the state of California, because it's a reminder that people in power here in the state view things in that lens. Like, it's so stupid to think of things like, well, these poor people don't have cell phones because these rich people have cell phones. No, they don't have cell phones because of many, many, many other factors. And no, there isn't an oppressive system being developed by people that are preventing people from having cell phones. And it's not an oppressive system to believe that cell phones are an essential tool for survival. It is a tool, yes, but it's not the same as food and shelter. And yes, there are people who don't have food and shelter, but like that's what we need to focus on. Not tax cell phones so we can get poor people's cell phones. How about we at least use our money that we are taxed on to house people who are veterans, who have served this country, and at least we're promised something, some sort of security by doing something, and they should get that at least. Whereas you're not automatically going to be giving a freaking cell phone because your neighbors decide, or the government in California decides that a cell phone is an essential tool for survival. In that same vein, in the chaos, like come back to the chaos, something that is a bit scary what's going on right now is the Dow and the Nasdaq are crashing, and these are the lowest numbers we've seen since the Great Depression. And in Christmas time, that's a big concern. So what we could see is an economic crash, worse than we saw in 2007, 2008. If that's the case, it's going to get real bad. So in closing on this video is make sure you have your silver or gold bought, have your precious metals ready, or hope you have enough stored away to survive this crash, because it could be bad. And yeah, that's why I'm doing this video. A kind of reminder to everyone, if you made it this far, wow, thanks for making it through my ranting and raving. But yep, invest in something that's not gonna go away after the crash. Thanks for watching, and have yourselves a good one, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Have a good day.